Fast general-purpose AI is absolutely incredible, right? I mean, it literally feels like magic. But here is the secret that nobody really tells you when you're trying to apply it to complex, high-stakes operations. If that AI lacks specific industry truth, its sheer speed is actually your biggest problem. Imagine for a second, asking a generic AI for a plating line control plan for a highly regulated manufacturing facility. What do you actually get? Well, you get a very confident, highly fluent guess. Today, in this explainer, we're breaking down a really fascinating white paper on how to fix this exact issue. We're looking at deploying integrated process excellence, or IPE, with the Claude platform. We are going to explore exactly how you can turn that generic fluency into absolute audit-ready precision. Okay, let's dive into this. Today we'll be covering 1. The generic AI problem. 2. Meet the Claude engine. 3. Process first, tools second. 4. The 6 steps of IPE. And 5. Data plus process equals ROI. And honestly, this whole structure mirrors the core thesis of the white paper we're looking at today, which is that structure and governed processes matter above absolutely everything else. Starting right off with Section 1, the generic AI problem. So let's talk about a very real, very painful frustration that operations leaders face right now when they try to integrate AI into their daily workflows. You bring in this state-of-the-art AI tool, and wow, it is brilliant at writing. But it doesn't know the exact regulatory requirements of your specific production part approval process, or PPAP submission package. It has no clue how your particular steel mill's heat treat deviation is actually supposed to be escalated when something goes wrong. General-purpose AI is fantastic at giving you fluency, consistency, and scale, but if you don't have a governed process standard acting as your ground truth, that speed just gets you to the completely wrong destination much, much faster. It basically becomes a tool without a defined process, turning out these fluent yet ultimately generic documents that don't actually help your operations. Moving on to Section 2, Meet the Claude engine. The landscape of AI tools has expanded so dramatically, and the Claude platform, it's no longer just a single chat window you type questions into. It's a massive, highly capable multi-tool suite. First, you've got Claude AI handling your core chat and projects. Then you have Claude integrated directly inside Microsoft 365, carrying a shared context across Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And actually, inside Word, it proposes native track changes instead of just silently rewriting your text, which is a huge deal. Then there's Claude and Chrome for navigating your web-based systems. You've got Claude Code, built specifically for developers. There is Claude Cowork, which is this incredible tool that handles multi-step, ongoing monitoring across your local files. And we absolutely can't forget Claude Design, which was substantially overhauled in June 2026, letting you generate brand-consistent visual work completely from scratch. And under the hood, all of this is powered by a massive recent leap in technology. On June 30th, 2026, Anthropic launched Claude Sonnet 5. This is now the default, highly agentic model powering the entire suite, bringing just an incredible level of capability at a much lower cost than their flagship tier. So why does this specific model matter so much for process deployment? Because Sonnet 5 can run autonomously for much, much longer stretches without stalling out or needing a human to nudge it forward. For operations, that stamina is exactly what you need for complex, multi-step monitoring tasks that keep a facility running safely and up to code. Let's slow down the pace for a second for Section 3. Process first, tool second. This is really the gravity of the whole white paper. And this brilliantly illustrates the core dynamic we're talking about. On one side, you have the engine. This is the fluency, the consistency, and the immense scale provided by the Claude tools we just talked about. But on the exact opposite side, you have the map. This is the domain-specific process truth provided by IPE. You see, you have this incredible multi-tool engine at your disposal, but to be truly useful, it desperately needs a specific map to follow. The governing rule here is that a tool is selected because a strictly defined process requires it. You never, ever do the reverse. The white paper states this perfectly. And I want to pause here because this is a quote worth remembering. AI tools are the engine. A documented process is the map. Just think about that relationship for a second. A map without an engine? Well, that's really just a dusty binder sitting on a shelf. It contains the truth, sure, but it has no speed, no scale, no execution. But an engine without a map? That just produces confident-sounding generic outputs that have literally nothing to do with how your specific plant or department actually operates. They have to be paired together. So you might be wondering, how exactly do we build that map? We do it through something called an IPE Pack, Integrated Process Excellence, which actually traces its roots all the way back to Roger Slater's foundational work in 1996, uses these packs to encode a business process into a strict, auditable hierarchy. It breaks things down into a 1.0 area, a 1.1 activity, and a 1.1.1 element. Now, why does this rigid numbering matter? Because this numerical hierarchy transforms vague human instructions into a machine-readable, audit-proof format. These packs act as a structuring layer. You load this exact hierarchy right into Claude's context window, and suddenly the AI has a schema. It has a rigid skeleton to wrap its powerful reasoning around. And this is where it gets incredibly real. We're talking about encoding highly specialized sectors, things like plastic injection molding or pharmaceutical batch release. This proves this whole framework isn't just abstract tech theory, it's about actual, on-the-ground manufacturing and quality control standards. When Claude is loaded with the IPE pack for pharmaceutical batch release, it isn't guessing anymore. It knows exactly what correct looks like for that precise regulatory environment, all the way down to the smallest element. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 4. The 6 steps of IPE. To execute this map, the framework follows 6 very precise steps, matching specific tools to specific phases of work. The foundational work happens in Step 1.0, creating a positive environment, and Step 1.1, defining the process. These early phases rely heavily on Claude AI simply because tasks like stakeholder messaging and interviewing subject matter experts are inherently conversational drafting work. Once the process is defined, we move to Step 1.1.1, documenting the process. Here, you transition to using Claude for Word and Claude Design. You're drafting the actual process in a final, professional, deliverable format while preserving total human reviewer control through native tracked changes. Next comes communicating the process. This is where Claude in Chrome steps in to autonomously publish your new documentation out to external surfaces, like a company learning management system or a supplier portal. Finally, we reach the ongoing operational phases: measure and control, and continuous improvement. For these final steps, Claude Cowork completely takes the wheel. It autonomously compares your live, daily production output against the gold standard across dozens of files and even detects emerging patterns in your deviation logs to suggest improvements. So, a very clear pattern emerges across these 6 steps. Your early, definitional steps are dominated by conversational tools, where you're brainstorming. Your middle, generative steps belong to document and visual tools, where you're locking in the standard. And your late steps? That is where autonomous, agentic tools like Cowork dominate, handling the ongoing monitoring and improvement loops. It's a perfectly sequenced deployment. Which brings us to our final takeaway in Section 5, data plus process equals ROI. So the crucial point is this. Before, bringing general-purpose AI into your workflow basically meant chaos. It meant freeform generation and relying on generic templates that might look nice, but completely lacked operational truth and definitely failed audits. But after deploying IPE as your structuring layer, that exact same AI tool operates with absolute order. It is now populating a validated template. It completely transforms an open-ended conversation into a structured, audit-ready standard, comparing your live data against a specific versioned reality. The tool does the writing and monitoring at a speed a human never could, but the pack tells it exactly what correct is. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Take a look at your own operations and how you're utilizing AI right now. Are you deploying a highly capable engine without a map, basically just crossing your fingers and hoping it magically figures out your specific industry standards on its own? Or are you ready to schedule a working session to build your process truth, map your specific domain, and give that incredible engine exactly what it needs to drive real, reliable ROI? The choice is yours. But as we've seen today, having the map makes absolutely all the difference.